All right, so this is the rotations practice number 2 worksheet. So let's start with number 1 here. And here we are going to go ahead and have this particular triangle with point E being at 2, -1, point V being at, let's see here, it's point V, and that is at -3, -2, and point G being at right over here, and that is 0, -3. All right, let's connect our dots. Okay, so this triangle, we're trying to rotate it 180 degrees. So we're doing a 180-degree rotation, which means simply your x, y is going to just change signs, right? You're going to go into -x, -y. That's your rule. So let's do this for every single point. Let's start with point E. So point E is 2, -1. So it's going to transition to the -2, +1. You just change the signs on both. Now, so that's going to be your new point E, -2, 1. So -2, 1 is right over here. So that is your new point E. Then you're going to do this for every other point. Doesn't matter which point you start with. V is next at -3, -2. And that's going to go ahead and transition to +3, +2. So +3, +2 is right over here. So that's going to be your new point V. And then lastly, point G, I'll just write that down here. So point G is going to go from 0, -3, and it's going to go into, the 0 doesn't change, but the 3 becomes positive. So point G is going to be 0, +3, which is here. So it's going to be your new point G, 0, 3. And then you simply will connect your dots. And congratulations, this is the 180-degree rotation of this particular triangle. So that's number 1. Pause it if you need to. I'm going to set up for number 2. All right, so for number 2, it's another 180-degree rotation. So we have point U, which is here. So point U is, that is -4, 0. Then you have point X here. And X is -2, -2. And then you have point W here. And that happens to be -4, -4. All right, and I love 180-degree rotations. They're the simplest, easiest ones to do. So again, it's a 180-degree rotation, which means the rule is your x, y is going to become -x, -y. Obviously, it's just changing signs. It does not have to be negative. So let's start with point U. So point U is going to go from -4, 0 into +4, 0. Obviously, the 0 doesn't change because it's 0. Can't be positive or negative. X is going to go from -2, -2. And it's going to become +2, +2. So that's nice and easy. And W is going to go from -4, -4 into +4, +4. So let's do those 3 points now. So U is now 4, 0, so +4, 0, which is here. All right, that's your new point U. X is now 2, 2, so +2, +2, so that is here. And W is now 4, 4, and that's going to be annoying because that's going to be right over here, but that's going to be your new W. That used to be U. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see, so that was right here. So let's connect our dots. That's actually a little off. What did I do wrong? Okay, wow. Keep going from last time. So 4, 4, which is here. So that's your W. There we go. Connect your dots. And I messed up on the X. Oh my gosh. Same thing as last time. This is, I mislabeled my original X. My original X is negative 3, 2. Be super careful with that. Again, I keep making these mistakes. They're simple mistakes, but, you know, real easy to make. So that's going to become 3, 2 for the X. So X is going to be a 3, 2, which is right over here. 3, 2, that's your X. And now that's going to look a lot better. So that's the 180-degree rotation of, is it? Oh my God, I mislabeled W as well. Wow, this is terrific. Not really. That's a negative 3 right here. Just shows you, don't make these mistakes. Be very careful when you are labeling things. And this was supposed to be an easy problem as well. So W is 4, 3, which is right over here. That's where your W should be. There we go. And the reason I can tell is because a triangle looks wonky. It should be exact the same thing rotated. Now that's number 2. All right, so sorry about that. So that is the 180-degree rotation, the supposedly easy one for number 2. Let's move on to number 3. All right, number 3. You have a 90-degree rotation of E. Let's label our points correctly. That's E. That is negative 2, 1, right? Yes. Then G, which is here, which is what is that? Negative 2, negative 3. That looks about right. And then the last one looks like they're trying to say B. Letter B, which is, what is that at? Negative 5. Yeah, negative 5, 0. I think I labeled my points correctly. Negative 2, 1. Negative 2, negative 3. And then negative 5, 0. Okay, all right. I think I got this time. Let's see for how long. Okay. So this is a 90-degree rotation clockwise, no, counterclockwise. So let's do our work here. So it's a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation. And the rule for that is that your X and Y are going to do 2 things. First of all, your Y is going to change signs, and then you flip them, right? So let's do it for every single point. For point E, and again, it doesn't matter which one you start, but you're going to go from negative 2 to 1. From negative 2, 1, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and change the Y. So it's going to go to negative 2, negative 1. And then you're going to flip them into negative 1, negative 2. And that's the final rotation of point E. So your new point E is negative 1, negative 2. So negative 1, negative 2, which is here. So that's your new point E. All right. And then your point B is going to go from negative 5, 0 to, first of all, you switch to Y, and there's nothing to switch for the Y because it's a 0, right? No sign to switch. And then you flip them, it becomes 0, negative 5. So 0, negative 5, which is here. So that's your new point B. And lastly, your point G. It's going to go from negative 2, negative 3. You're going to switch the sign on the Y. So it'd be negative 2, positive 3. And then you're going to flip them. So it becomes 3, negative 2. So your G is 3, negative 2, which is here. So that's your new G. Connect your dots. And congratulations, the 90 degrees clockwise rotation, and that looks good. So that's number 3. Pause it if you need to. Let's move on to number 4. For number 4, it's a 90 degrees, again, another 90 degree counterclockwise rotation with point K at 2, 2, point J at 3, 3, and point F at 3, 2. Let me double check my points. Everything looks good. Small little triangle. And we're doing a 90 degree counterclockwise rotation. So counterclockwise. So that means the rule is just like before. Your X and Y, 2 things happen. First of all, your Y is going to switch signs, and then you're going to flip them, right? So let's do this for every single point. So for J, it's going to go from 3, 3. So first of all, flip the Y. Not flip, change the sign on the Y. So it's going to go from positive to negative. And then flip them so the negative goes in front. All right. Then for the F, from 3, 2, the Y is going to change signs. So you're going to get 3, negative 2, and then you're going to flip them. So the negative is going to go in front. So that's going to be your new F. And lastly, for the K, which is 2, 2, again, switch the sign on the Y, so now it's 2, negative 2, and then flip them so the negative goes in front. So it'll be negative 2, 2. Now let's label these points. So J is negative 3, 3, which is here. So that's your new J. Your F is going to be negative 2, 3. So negative 2, 3. So it'll be your new F. And then your K is going to be negative 2, 2, which is here. So that'll be your new K. Connect your lines, and congratulations. This is the 90 degree counterclockwise rotation of that triangle for number 4. All right, pause it if you need to, and let's go ahead and move on to number 5. All right, number 5, you have point M right over here. So that's point M at negative 5, negative 1. Let's double check, yeah. Then point L right over here, which is at negative 5, negative 3. Yeah, and then point I is at negative 4, negative 3. Okay, if I labeled everything correctly, that's the triangle we're working with, another small triangle. And we're doing a 90 degrees clockwise rotation, so 90 degrees clockwise. And the rule for that is your XY is going to, so the X is going to change the sign, and then they're going to flip. So the X changes its sign, and then they will flip. So let's do this for every single point. Let's start with M in no particular order. So negative 5, negative 1 is where you start with. First, let's go ahead and change the sign on the X. So now it becomes 5, negative 1. And then flip them. So the negative 1 goes in front, 5 goes after. So that is your new point M. And that is, I'll just put it on right now. So negative 1, 5, which is here. So that's your new point M. Then it's your point I next, which is starting with negative 4, negative 3. Change the sign on the X. So now it's positive 4, negative 3. and then flip them. So the negative goes in front, the 4 goes after. So point I is negative 3, 4. So negative 3, 4, it's right over here. Yeah, sounds about right. So that is your new I. And lastly, with the L, you have negative 5, negative 3. So change the sign on the X. So now it's a positive 5, negative 3, and then flip it. So now it's negative 3, 5, and that is your final position on the L. So negative 3, 5, which is here. So that is L. Connect your dots. And that is the 90-degree clockwise rotation for number 5. So pause that if you need to. And let's go ahead and move on to number 6. So for number 6, we're doing another clockwise rotation. Point U being here at 3, 3. Point, what is that? I maybe being here, which is going to be 5, 0. And lastly, we have point K here, which is at 2, negative 2. So we have this larger triangle compared to before. And we're doing a 90-degree clockwise rotation. So it's a 90 degrees clockwise rotation, which is just like before. Your X and Y is going to do this. So your X is going to change signs, and then you are going to go ahead and flip them. So let's do this for every single point. Let's start with U, which is at 3, 3 to begin with. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and change the sign of the X. So that's negative 3, 3. We're going to flip them. So now it's 3, negative 3. So that's going to be your point U at 3, negative 3, which is here. That's your new U. Kind of taking over the last point K's area, but that's okay. Then point I is at 5, 0. So we're going to change first the X from positive to negative. So it's going to become negative 5, 0. And I'm going to flip them. So now it's 0, negative 5. So 0, negative 5, which is down here. So that is going to be your new point I. And last but not least, we're going to do point K, which is 2, negative 2. So first change the sign on the X. So now it's negative 2, negative 2. And I guess flip it, but it doesn't matter because it's still going to be negative 2, negative 2. So that is right in here. So that is your new K. And if you connect the lines or the dots with lines, oof, that's a horrible line. That's another horrible line. Oh my gosh. Not easy making lines on an iPad, especially with a case on. All right, so there you go. That is the 90 degrees clockwise rotation of that. That looks good to me. So pause that if you need to, and we're going to be moving on to the back now. Or number 7. All right, for number 7 on the back, 180 degree rotation. It's my favorite one. So let's see here. You have X here. That's your X at 1, 0. H right next to it, right here. That's your H at 2, 0. T over here. Oh my gosh, no room for T. I'm gonna write hold on a second, let me fix that up. So I'll do this. Oh, it's gonna be messy regardless how I do it. I'll just move the h up here. So h at 2, 0, t over here at what looks like to be 4, -1. And L is down here at 1, -4. All right, so let's connect our dots here. All right, so we got 4 points to work with. Always prefer to have the less, the better, but it is what it is. So 180-degree rotation is the simplest one. I love 180-degree rotation, so let's do it. The rule is simple. You're going to go from x, y, just change the signs to -x, -y. All right. Apologies. Let's do this for every single point, starting with x. You have 1, 0, and you're going to get yourself -1, 0, because 0 does not change. So x is at -1, 0, which is here. So that is your new x. All right, for h, you're going to go from 2, 0 to something very similar. It's going to become -2, 0. So -2, 0, which is h here. Then you're going to go ahead and work on, oof, I forgot to label that point. Genius. That's supposed to be t. Work on t, which is at 4, -1. Here, both will change signs. So you're going to get -4, +1. So -4, +1 is here. So it'll be your new t. And then lastly, L, which is at 1, -4. L is going to go and become -1, +4. So -1, +4, which is here. So it'll be your new L. So now just connect your dots. And congratulations, that is the 180-degree rotation of this particular quadrilateral 4-pointed, 4-sided object. So pause this if you need to, and let's move on to number 8. All right. For number 8, that's another 180-degree rotation, something I love. So we have point F up here, which is -2, 4. You have P over here, which is at -4, 4, right? That looks to be about right, yeah. And then L here, which is going to be -4, 2. And then E, which is, what is that here? At -3, -1. Okay, I think I labeled them correctly. No, L is off. L should be -5, 2. There we go, caught that. That was going to be another big mistake, but yeah, be careful labeling your points. Let's connect them. All right, and 180-degree rotation. So here we go. So 180 degrees is your X and Y are going to just change signs. So let's do this for every single point, starting with point P. It's going to go from -4, 4 to 4, -4. Almost like they swap places, but they just change signs. So point P is going to be 4, negative 4, which is here. So that is your brand new P. Then your F is going from negative 2, 4 into to negative 4. So 2, negative 4 is down here. So that is going to be your new F. Your new F. Then for E, again in no particular order, negative 3, negative 1. It's going to turn into, you guessed it, 3, 1, which is here. So that is your brand new E. And lastly, your point L. It's going to go from negative 5, 2, and it's going to become positive 2, negative 2. Yeah, so from negative 5, 2 to positive 5, negative 2, or 5, negative 2. So it'll be 5, negative 2, which is here, and that'll be your brand new L. Let's go ahead and connect our dots. And it's not the best picture, but that is the 180-degree rotation of that 4-sided object for number 8. So pause it if you need to, and we're going to be moving on to number 9. All right, for number 9, we have a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation of this thing right here, Q, at negative 1, 0, N at what looks like that's negative 3, 4, right over here, N. Then J up here at what looks like negative 5, 5. Yep, that's about right. And then M, which is here, and that looks to be negative 5, 0. Okay, if I labeled everything correctly, which is not a given, could definitely make a mistake. This is what it looks like. And we're asked to do a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation. So 90 degrees counterclockwise. And the rule for that is your X and Y for 90 degrees counterclockwise is going to go and do 2 things. First, the Y is going to change signs, and then they're going to flip. So let's do this for every single point, starting with the J. So with J, you have negative 5, 5. So first things first, the Y changes sign, so now it's negative 5, negative 5, and then you flip it, but nothing changes since they're both the same sign. So negative 5, negative 5. So let's do that. Negative 5 is here. So that'll be your new J. Then your N, negative 3, 4. So that's gonna go, and first of all, the Y changes. So now it's negative 3, negative 4. And when it flips, it becomes negative 4, negative 3. So your new N is negative 4, negative 3, negative 4, negative 3, which is here. So that is your brand new N. Then your M, sure, at negative 5, 0. So the Y changes signs, the 0 can't, so nothing changes there because the 0 is a 0. And then they flip, so it becomes 0, negative 5. So 0, negative 5 is here. So that is your new M. And last but not least, you gotta do Q, negative 1, 0. So the same thing happens as in the 0 can't change signs. The 0 is a 0, but they will flip. So the 0 goes in front, negative 1 goes after. So it'll be 0, negative 1. So that will be your new right? 0, -1. No, I'm sorry. 0, -1 right here. So that'll be your new Q, because it's 0, -1. Yep. So now connect your dots. And this is the 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation of that shape for number 9. We got 3 more to go. So let's do number 10. All right. So for 10, we have 90-degree clockwise rotation of this object here with an N being up here, and that is a -1, 4. S being down here, and that is a -1, 1. A being here at 1, 0. And F being here at 3, 3. Okay, let's draw the shape. Straight lines. Oh my gosh. There we go. Yay. Now we're going to do a 90 degrees clockwise rotation. So 90 degrees clockwise, which means your X and Y do two things. Your X is going to change signs and then they will flip. So let's do this for every single point, starting with N. N is starting with -1, 4. So the first thing that happens is the X changes signs. So now it's +1, 4, and then they flip. So now it's a 4, 1. So your N is at 4, 1. So that is your brand new N, unless I made a mistake. Then let's do F. 3, 3 is a starting point. So first the X changes sign, so now it's a -3, 3. And then they flip, so now it's a 3, -3. So 3, -3 is here, right? 3, -3, yeah, that's right. So that's your new F. Then let's do A. 1, 0 is what you start with. And now you're going to change the sign on X. So now it's a -1, 0, and then you're going to flip them. So now it's a 0, -1. So 0, -1 is here. So that is your brand new A. And last but not least, let's do S. So for S, you start with -1, 1. You're going to go ahead and change the sign on the X. So now it's a +1, 1. And obviously when you flip that, not a whole lot happens. Still 1, 1. So 1, 1 is here, and that'll be your new S. So connect your dotsicles. And that is your 90-degree clockwise rotation of that particular shape for number 10. So pause it if you need to. We're going to go ahead and move on to number 11. So an 11 is a 90-degree clockwise rotation. So you have S up here, and that is at 2, 3. G is here, and that is at 4, 3. Then H is down here at, I'll label it like this, at 1, 1. And E is here at 2, negative 1. All right, let's connect our dots. All right, here is the labeled object, and we're doing a 90-degree clockwise rotation. So the rule is like before, your X and Y are gonna do two things. First of all, your X is gonna change the sign, and then you flip them. So let's do this for every single point, starting with H. H is 1, 1. So first things first, let's change the X value from positive to negative, and then let's flip it. So 1, negative 1 is the final position. So 1, negative 1 is here, so it'll be your brand new H. Then let's do S. 2, 3 is what we start with. And you're gonna change the sign on the X, and then you're gonna flip them, ending up with 3, negative 2. So 3, negative 2, which is here. And that's gonna be your new S, your G. You start with 4, 3. Change the sign on the X, so now it's a negative 4, 3. And then you flip them, 3, negative 4. So 3, negative 4, that's here, so that should be your new G. And last but not least, we're going to do E. And E is 2, negative 1. And that's going to turn into negative 2, negative 1, because we're going to change the sign on the X. And then we're going to flip them at negative 1, negative 2. So negative 1, negative 2 is here, and that is your brand new E. Now if you connect the dots, it's a bad line. And that looks to be right. So that is the 90-degree clockwise rotation of this particular object for number 11. So pause that and let's do our very last one, number 12. All right, for 12, we have point P right over here. Point P is negative 1, 0. Point F is here. And F is negative 3, negative 2. Right? Yeah, looks about right. Z is right below it. And Z is going to be negative 3, negative 3. And then V is here. And that is going to be negative 1, negative 4. All right, let's connect our dots. Boom, boom. Oh. All right, so that is the shape. And they're asking us for 90 degrees clockwise rotation. So let's go and do that. 90 degrees clockwise for the last one is going to be same as before. The X changes its sign, and then you flip them. So let's do it for every single point, starting with P. P starts at negative 1, 0. Let's go ahead and change the sign on the x. So now it's a positive 1, 0, and then when you flip it, it becomes 0, 1. So 0, 1 is here, so that'll be your brand new P. For V, and again, I'm going in no particular order. You start with, oops, that does not look like a V. That's a little better. Start with negative 1, negative 4. First change the sign of the x, so now it's a positive 1, negative 4, and then flip it, so now it's a negative 4, 1. So negative 4, 1 is here. So that will be your new V, right? Negative 4, and then negative 4, 1. Negative 4, 1, yeah, that's right. Then let's do point Z. So point Z is at negative 3, negative 3. So let's change the sign on the x. So that becomes positive 3, negative 3, and then we flip them. So the negative 3 goes in front, the positive 3 goes after. So negative 3, 3 is here. So that is going to be your point Z. And lastly, let's do point F for Frank. So that is negative 3, negative 2. So first change the sign on the x. Now it's a positive 3, negative 2. And then flip them. Now it's a negative 2, positive 3. So negative 2, positive 3 is here. And that is F. Connect the dots. And that is wrong, because that definitely does not look like what I started with. So I made a mistake on the last one. Let's see where the mistake is. The Z and the F distance is fine. Maybe I think my V is maybe off. So V is negative 1, negative 4. Apologize for that. So it's negative 1, negative 4. So what happened? Negative 1. So my V should have been negative 4, 1. So my V is good. So it must be P. So P is, what did I didn't even label P. So P is, no, I did, negative 1, 0. And P is indeed negative 1, 0. So that becomes 0, 1. Ah, no, that's right. So P is fine. V is fine. But that's weird to me. So let me again backtrack here. V is negative 1, negative 4. So that's good. So that is now 1, negative 4, and a negative 4, 1. Negative 4, 1. That's good. Let's try Z. Z is negative 3, negative 3. So it becomes 3, negative 3. And then it becomes negative 3, 3. So negative 3, 3. That's right. Yeah, I'm just being weird. And then F is negative 3, negative 2, right? And then that switches to 3, negative 2, and then it goes negative 2, 3, negative 2, 3, and that is F. Maybe that is the correct one. Okay, maybe I'm just being crazy. All right, I guess we're done.